By the way, I might mention that it had changed its name about 3 times. And then there is an old saying with the ship, if it changes its name, disaster looms. But in this case, that did prove true. But there were ample lifeboats, 18 in all, plenty to accommodate 1,135 people who were aboard, but 9 of them couldn't be launched. Of the 9 that couldn't be launched properly, 9 of them come down to deck level, and when the passengers got aboard, they requested of maneuvering the thing, and about 6 of those went end first. Passengers tipped into the sea, and the passengers on the ship side were banged between the lifeboat and the ship, fell like mice, dead in the sea. So we had dead straight away. I thought the fire would be put out. I was certain the fire would be put out, so I didn't make any attempt to disembark. And went back, and the bar was open, and a few drinks to calm the nerves if they dropped the light down the come. And it wasn't much more. Eventually, after a short while, I found I heard voices. I was I'd lean into my right side, so I couldn't turn, but the voices covered my left. And eventually, I did see them. I thought I was dead. I thought it was crossing the river Styx in the head. I was absolutely convinced of that. And when I did get a look at the rescuers, they looked at foreign Far Eastern people. And that convinced me maybe I was in heaven. Not been used to that, that's what I said. Soon recognised the national. So we went aboard, and that's about it. That's my story. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next person to talk is Gordon Holmes, who was a very young seaman on the HMS Centaur.
I'm here today really to represent the ship's company of HMS Centaur, the aircraft carrier. If I can take you back in time a little bit, I can take you on a little journey. Maybe it's better to try to explain to you how I felt as a 17-year-old on board a warship, basically. And we were travelling from Portsmouth, a few days behind the Lakonia, when we got a message to assist a passenger ship which was stricken, and they needed our assistance. So immediately the ship gathered speed, and you could feel the engines, and you could feel the shaking of the ship. So we knew it was important. I didn't really understand what was going on. I was a 17-year-old. My head was full of other things. But anyway, we got there, we arrived at first light on the morning of the 24th, and I was stood on the flight deck, and I looked around me with total dismay, because the scene of carnage in the water, life jackets, ship's lifeboats were wrecked, and I couldn't understand why. It was very, very difficult to take it all in at that point. Anyway, we worked all day. We recovered every body that we could possibly get. They were brought on board the ship, and as I said, they were treated with great dignity. But it was such a tragic sight to see them lined up on the flight deck, wrapped in cotton blankets. To Gibraltar. We saw Gibraltar in the distance, and I always thought of Gibraltar as a safe haven. We steamed into the harbour, and then we had to unload the bodies in cradles onto a floating pontoon, from my memory, and they were taken ashore, and they were looked after by the people of Gibraltar, who again had to. It was Christmas Day. You know, how do you take things in on Christmas Day? I understand the people of Gibraltar must have felt as sad as we did, and having to handle this such a traumatic happening. And as we were unloading them, they were serving Christmas dinner on board, though there were very few takers of it, and everybody walked around. We're going to now just, introduce Chris Chaplow from Aniversary.com, who really
put this together and sort of brought all the various components so that we're here today, really thanks to him.
As Gordon posted on the forum, and I've actually reproduced it in the brochure. I've been trying to find out for quite some time if there is a memorial or plaque in Gibraltar to commemorate the disaster. As many members of the Aniversary.com forum visit Gibraltar at this time of year, I could ask you all to keep your eyes open. And the forum started actually in the late 90s. And it was the original social media, long before social media was a word or even understood as a concept, and long before Twitter and Facebook. But it really became interesting when relatives of the deceased joined with their comments and descriptions of their visits here to North Front. And particularly a prime example was Bronte, daughter of the ship's doctor, James Riordan, who now lives in Australia and obviously can't be with us today. Now, I do encourage you to read the whole thread on the forum. Now has 140 posts on it and has been read 23,000 times. And only late last night there was a first post from a new member, Anne Murat, who says, "I was one of 2 nursing sisters on board the Lakonia. George Murat was one of the pursers on board. He swam and saved the life of one of the passengers, Mrs. Wilkinson, who unfortunately lost her husband. I was picked up from 8 hours at sea by a sailor called Bernard Purcell, one of the crew of the Mount Calm. If only I knew about this ceremony, I would have been there, but I will be thinking of you tomorrow." And the happy ending for me, as I married the purser George Murat and have 3 lovely children, all adults now, and of course with children of their own.
The ministers caught up in the ceremonial swearing in of the governor at the Parliament building. So instead of the minister unveiling, I'd be most grateful if our survivors would do that, because I think that would be more poignant. So could our 3 survivors? Thank you very much.
We ask you to give all our brothers and sisters who died in this tragedy peaceful rest. And until that day when you, the resurrection and the life, will raise them up in glory, there may they see the light of your presence in the kingdom where you live forever and ever. Amen.
Lord God, as we remember today the loss of so many people, we pray that you would surround the survivors, their families, and all those who grieve and mourn their loss with your eternal love.
First of all, may I congratulate he said that he recognised straight away. I thought, oh, well, they must have made contact.
It was coming through the Bay of Biscay. There was episodes up in the ship.
Did anybody...
You know,